أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام را كتاب أحكمت آياته ثم فصلت من لدن حكيم خبير ألا تعبدوا إلا الله إنني لكم منه نذير وبشير صدق الله العظيم. With the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and invoking His help, we are starting the study of Surah HUD alayhi salatu wassalam. As I told you, Surah Yunus and Surah HUD alayhi salatu wassalam are a pair. They have the same relationship between them, which we found in Surah Al-An'am and Surah Al-A'raf. There we found only Hazrat Ibrahim mentioned in Surah Al-An'am. None of those messengers to whose nations the punishment of Allah came. And Surah Al-A'raf, nearly half of it, that was occupied by Amba'ur Rusul, the history of those nations to whom the messengers of Allah were sent, and they rejected them and they were destroyed. And here we find, that although it's not so clear-cut, polarization or differentiation, but a reciprocal ratio exists. In Surah Yunus, only 2 of 11 sections, they were occupied by Amba'ur Rusul, the history of the messengers. Here in Surah Hud we'll find more than half of the surah again, just like Surah Al-A'raf. It deals with the history of those nations and people and the messengers which sent to them. Both these surahs are starting Alif Lam Ra. Alif Lam Ra is not counted as a full ayah. While Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Imran, though both of them began with Alif Lam Mim, and in both of them Alif Lam Mim, it is one ayah, counted as one ayah. Alif Lam Ra, not counted as one ayah. Ha Mim, although they are 2 letters, they are counted as one ayah. All these things are based on as the Prophet told us. Not any rule of grammar, no any rule of linguistics, not any rule of nahv, nothing of the sort. And it is called in the terminology of tafsir, tawqifi. All these things are mawquf on how the Prophet has told us. No reasoning, no inference, no logic, no grammar, nothing of the sort. Alif Lam Ra Kitabun Uhkimat Ayatuhu Summa Fussilat Min Ladun Hakimin Khabir. Let me tell you another thing before we start the text. There is a saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Shayyabatni Hudun wa akhawatuha. When this surah was revealed, it appeared as if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is so much grieved, is under such a pressure, a mental pressure, a tension, that he appeared to be old. Grey hair appeared in his hair. So Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu asked him a question. What is to you? You have grown suddenly old. The reply was, Shayyabatni Hudun wa akhawatuha. These surahs, Hud and its sisters, who have the same style and same, essence. So I have grown old because of them. Why? Because in these surahs it appears that the ajal or the time limit of Quraysh is coming to an end. And now the punishment and the chastisement is going to come them very soon. So that was the grief to Prophet ﷺ, because after all, this nation was his own nation. He also was from among them. He was also from Quraysh, although they didn't believe in him, but they were their kith and kin. So he was so much grieved at this, that as if now their term is going to come to an end very soon, and the chastisement and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to start. So that was the basis of his grief. Now I have referred to the first ayah of this surah in the last hour, and that is Kitabun Uhkimat Ayatuhu Summa Fussilat Min Ladun Hakimin Khabir. This is a book, Quran, a very peculiar book. Its ayat were first made profound and strengthened, and then detailed and explained from Him who is Al-Hakim and Khabir, who is all-wise and who is aware of everything. You know, it has two meanings. Number one, in the beginning, the ayat and surah which were revealed were very small. Ayat are also very small. Wal-'asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. But most profound. Because there is a saying, you know, of Imam Shafi, rahimahullah, law tadabbara an-nasu hadhihi surata la wasi'atuhum. Had people pondered over this surah only, it would have sufficed for them for all guidance that they need. There is another saying of his, quoted by Mufti Muhammad Abduhu in his tafsir, law lam yunazzal bil Quran siwaha lakafat an-nas. If nothing was revealed from the Quran except this Suratul Asr, it would have been sufficient to guide the people. So you know, the beginning surahs and ayat, they were small but very profound, saturated, so to say, with hikmah. And hikmah, ha, kaf, mim, has two meanings: wisdom and, you know, fortified, muhkam. Muhkam is something which is fortified, which is strong enough to defend itself against any invasion. That is mustahkam. It has now gained the strength. So these ayat in the beginning and the surahs, they were full of wisdom, very strong, very profound. But then they were detailed. Later on we are having very lengthy discourses, you know. Just like, you know, the rivulets in the mountainous region, they are narrow but very deep. But when, you know, in the plain, their, you know, breadth increases, but depth decreases. So that is the case with the ayat which were revealed in the early days and the ayat which were revealed in the later days. Now we had, for example, Ayatul Kursi. One ayah having more than 10 sentences in it. And that is one ayah. Ayatul Birr, Laysal birru an tuwallu wujuhakum qibala al-mashriqi wal-maghrib. How much detailed one ayah. So we have long ayahs in the Madani surahs and the later Makki surahs. But in the beginning, small ayat. But they were most profound. Now you can see now, this Surah HUD must have been revealed before Surah Yunus. There is an intrinsic, you know, proof for that, and that will come very soon, we shall read it. But this point can be referred here. It contains 123 ayat. But the rukus are 10. And compare it with Yunus, it had 109 ayat, but rukus were 11. So size of the ayat in Surah Yunus is larger, bigger than the size of ayat, average size of ayat in Surah Hud. So Surah Hud was earlier revealed, and there is another internal evidence for that will come very soon, inshallah. Alif Lam Ra Kitabun Uhkimat Ayatuhu Summa Fussilat min ladun Hakimin Khabir. Allah ta'budu illallah. The message had been the same of all the books, all the prophets, all the messengers. In one sentence, don't worship anyone except Allah. That's all. You found in the third section of Surah Al-Baqarah, Ya ayyuhan nas u'budu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum wallazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. This is the message of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or for that matter, of the message of Quran. And this has been the essence of the message of all the prophets and messengers of Allah. But must keep before you the full meanings of ibadah. Worship, loving, obeying, serving. Four things when joined together, then it becomes ibadah. Allah ta'budu illallah innani lakum minhu nadhirun wa bashir. Verily, I am for you from him a nazir, a warner, and a bashir, and a bearer of glad tidings. وَأَنِسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ ثُمَّ تُوبُوا إِلَيْهِ. And you ask the forgiveness of your Lord and turn towards him, repent towards him, relent towards him. يُمَتِّعْكُمْ مَتَاعًا حَسَنًا إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُّسَمًّى. He will provide you with good things, good provisions of this life, إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُّسَمًّى, but till a fixed period. Every person has a fixed time which he has to pass here. Every nation has a fixed, period granted to it. وَيُؤْتِ كُلَّ ذِي فَضْلٍ فَضْلَهُ. And he gives to all who deserves his bounty, He gives His bounty to those only who deserve His bounty. Or whosoever has any bounty, actually it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُؤْتِ كُلَّ ذِي فَضْلٍ فَضْلَهُ وَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ كَبِيرٍ. And if you turn your faces away, then I fear about you the chastisement of a mighty day, of a big day. إِلَى اللَّهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. To Allah is your return. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And He has power over everything. أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ يَسْنُونَ صُدُورَهُمْ. Behold, they are bending or twisting their chests, لِيَسْتَخْفُوا مِنْهُ, so that they can hide themselves from Him. أَلَا هِينَ يَسْتَغْشُونَ ثِيَابَهُمْ. Behold, when they are wearing their clothing upon them, يَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ. Even then He knows what they are hiding and what they are making appear. إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. He knows even those things which are in the hearts or chests of the people. About this ayah, there are many ways in which it has been interpreted. But because we find a hadith, and it is included in the Sahih of Imam Bukhari, narrated by Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, and that we should accept as the true exegesis of this ayah. And that is, among some of the Sahaba, some of the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there were some who were overwhelmingly shy, just as Hazrat Usman radiyallahu ta'ala, shyness, was, overwhelming them. So even when they were, answering the call of nature and so on, other things, and they had to be naked, they were very much ashamed of being naked. And they used to bend their chests and twist so that they can hide themselves from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is seeing us. How can we be naked? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allaying their, this fear of theirs. Ala innahum yasnuna sudurahum liyastaghfu minhu. They want to hide from Allah. Well, even when you have your clothes you have put on, Allah knows you and see you through and through. Allah knows what you are hiding. You cannot hide and conceal anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala hina yastaghshawna siyabahu. When they wrap their clothing over them, garments over them, ya'lamu ma yusirruna wa ma yu'linun. Even at that time, He knows what they conceal and what they reveal. Innahu alimun bi dhati sudur. Verily, He knows even those things which are hidden in the hearts. Wa ma min dabbatin fil ardi illa 'ala Allahi rizquha. And there is no creature on the whole of the earth, but upon Allah rests its sustenance. This is very important for those who want to serve the deen of Allah. They shouldn't fear where from they will eat. How will they be able to support themselves and their family? The risk, and the providence and provisions and sustenance of this life, that is guaranteed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. Allah takes the responsibility upon Him. Don't fear. Only you have to put your trust in Him. That is the test. وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا. Allah knows its place of abode as well as the place of repository. We had these words in Surah Al-An'am perhaps, or Araf, An'am I think. And there I discussed. There are three views about it. Mustaqar is permanent abode. So mostly people think Mustaqar is Akhirah, because that is going to be the permanent abode. Mustauda is somewhere you keep something for some time. So this worldly life is Mustauda. But there is another view, although it's not held by so many, that Mustaqar for us is dunya, for this time, at presently. But Mustauda was the wombs of the mothers. We remained there for 9 months. وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا كُلٌّ فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. And everything is recorded in a book which is manifest and very clear. وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ. And it is He who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. وَكَانَ عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. And His throne was over water. Now this ayah has also intrigued, so many mufassirin. What does it mean? عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. His throne was over water. Well, I dare to venture an opinion, and that is, as we know today, that before life appeared on this planet, For very long period, rains were falling for thousands of years altogether, continuously. Because when this earth, became cold, it shrunk. When it shrunk, there were mountains, there were, up and downs, there were low regions and high regions. Then, when rain came, now there were the oceans. So at that time, it was all ocean, all water. So actually, this world, for this world, the government of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so to say, that of this universal government, it was on water. But I can't say that this is actually what is meant by these words here. But this is what, has come to my mind. وَكَانَ عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Then, life began, and then, humans and mankind were created. And what for created? لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, so that he may try you and test you, which one of you is better in his deeds. This is the same ayah as we find in Surah Al-Mulk, خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. He created life and death, and so that this worldly life becomes for you a period of testing. In the same way, لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. He has created you here in this world. This worldly life is meant to be a period of testing. قُلْ زُمِ ہستی سے تو ابراہ مانند حباب اس زیاں خانے میں تیرا امتحان ہے زندگی. This life is actually a period of testing and trial. وَلَئِنْ قُلْتَ إِنَّكُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ مِنْ بَعْدِ الْمَوْتِ. And if you say you will be resurrected and raised after your death, لَيَقُولَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ. These unbelievers will surely say, it is nothing but a magic or a sorcery. وَإِلَّا أَخَّرْنَا عَنْهُمُ الْعَذَابَ إِلَىٰ أُمَّةٍ مَّعْدُودَةٍ. And if we postpone and delay for them the chastisement for a time which is already fixed, ma'duda, it is already fixed. لَيَقُولُنَّ مَا يَحْبِسُهُ. They will surely say, what is preventing it to come? They were making haste. Why don't you bring that chastisement? We have been hearing, from you for 10 long years that azab will come and chastisement and torment will come. But what is holding it back? مَا يَحْبِسُهُ. أَلَا يَوْمَ تَيَاتِهِمْ لَيْسَ مَصْرُوفًا عَنْهُمْ. Behold, when it will come to them, it will not be able to be turned away from them. وَحَاقَ بِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. And they will be encircled by that on which they were mocking and about which they were joking. وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنَّا رَحْمَةً ثُمَّ نَزَعْنَاهَا مِنْهُ إِنَّهُ لَيَئُوسٌ كَفُورٌ. Now these two conditions, extreme conditions for man, for common men, usually it's the case with men. And if we make a man taste from our mercy, we have given him wealth and health and everything, so our mercy is there, he is tasting life and all the good things of life. ثُمَّ نَزَعْنَاهَا مِنْهُ. And then we withdraw these things from him. إِنَّهُ لَيَئُوسٌ كَفُورٌ. He becomes absolutely disappointed, despaired and ungrateful. He says, I saw never any good thing in life. Oh, Allah has never given me anything. He became so ungrateful. وَإِلَّا نَذَقْنَاهُ نَعْمَاءَ بَعْدَ ضَرَّاءٍ مَسَّتْهُ. And if we give him the taste of our mercy and our, blessings, after, some hurting had come to him, something which was unpleasant to لَيَقُولَنَّ ذَهَبَ السَّيِّئَاتُ عَنِّي. And then he will say, definitely say, well, all evils have gone from me. إِنَّهُ لَفَرِحٌ فَخُورٌ. Then he becomes overjoyed. Farah. I told you this word is used in the Quran not in a good sense. Farah, overjoyed. And fakhur, boastful. Because everything which is coming to us in this world is for testing. If something unpleasant, it is also for testing, whether we persevere or not. We show patience or not. If something good has come, whether we are grateful or not, we become overjoyed, and that also shows, the shallowness of our personality. So actually, we should have something in between in all the cases. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا. But this is not the case of those who have patience. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Except those who have patience and perseverance and they do good deeds. أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَأَجْرٌ كَبِيرٌ. And for them, there will be the forgiving, pardoning, and a very great reward. فَلَعَلَّكَ تَارِكٌ بَعْضَ مَا يُوحَىٰ إِلَيْكَ وَضَائِقٌ بِهِ صَدْرُكَ أَن يَقُولُوا لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ كَنزٌ أَوْ جَاءَ مَعَهُ مَلَكٌ. So perhaps or perchance you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are going to leave some of what has been sent down to you, revealed to you. وَضَائِقٌ بِهِ صَدْرُكَ, and your chest is shrinking on it. أَن يَقُولُوا, that they are saying, لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ كَنزٌ, why has not been a treasure sent down on him? He says, I am the representative of Allah, the master of all the worlds. Couldn't he give him a treasure? Wealth? We saw him all the life toiling in his childhood, even his early adolescence. He was working as a laborer. Then he was working as a merchant. And he claims to be the representative of Allah, the ambassador of Allah on earth. So how come? Wouldn't Allah give him the wealth and riches? أَوْ جَاءَ مَعَهُ مَلَكٌ, and if he is really a messenger of Allah, angels could be accompanying him, shouting to people, oh, this is messenger of Allah, you must believe in him. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in wakeel, and Allah is a guardian over everything. Now, because these things were coming to him repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, people were saying these things, and years had passed after years. So maybe that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also felt somewhat, grieved at it. And we find it, إِنَّهُ لَيَحْزُنُكَ وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُ يَزِيقُ صَدْرُكَ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ. But they are saying, your chest shrinks over it due to grief and sorrow. So perhaps, but I don't think, this is directed towards those people who are pressurizing him. You are pressurizing him so that he should give up some of those things which have been revealed to him. But apparently it is directed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but actually it is meant for those who are pressurizing him. فَلَعَلَّكَ تَارِكٌ بَعْضَ مَا يُوحَىٰ إِلَيْكَ وَضَائِقٌ بِهِ صَدْرُكَ أَن يَقُولُوا لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ كَنزٌ أَوْ جَاءَ مَعَهُ مَلَكٌ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ نَذِيرٌ. O Muhammad, you are nothing but a warner. وَاللَّهُ عَلَىٰ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَكِيلٌ, and it's Allah who is the guardian over everything. Am yaqulun aftarah, are they saying that he has composed it, he has forged it, he has, concocted all this? Qul fatu bi ashri suwarin mislihi. This is the intrinsic proof and evidence that this surah was revealed before Surah Yunus. Because this argument, it started from the whole of Quran. We find in Surah Bani Israel, قُلْ لَئِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَٰذَا الْقُرْآنِ لَا يَأْتُونَ بِمِثْلِهِ وَلَوْ كَانَ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ ظَهِيرًا. Tell them, if all humans, all jinns could join together to compose a book like this Quran, they will not be able to compose it, although they might help each other. So here a full book, that was asked, that if you can do, you also compose a full book. But that Barsabile Tanazzul, it is called, If you couldn't do that, okay. Then you compose 10 surahs, okay. Not this whole of book, 10 surahs. And when they couldn't meet this challenge, okay. Now you come forth with one surah. So it is a gradual. Whole of Quran, Surah Bani Israel. Here, 10 surahs. Fatu bi ashri suwarin mislihi. You also bring forth 10 surahs like this. Muftarayatin, which may be composed by men and forged by humans. Wadu man istata'tum min dunillah. And you call whomsoever you can, except Allah. In kuntum sadiqeen, if you are true. فَإِلَّمْ يَسْتَجِيبُوا لَكُمْ. But then if they don't, accept your challenge, if they don't reply to your request, فَعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا أُنزِلَ بِعِلْمِ اللَّهِ. Now you must know that it has been sent down with the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ilaha illahu, and there is no God except He. فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. So now are you ready to submit? When you couldn't meet the challenge, when you couldn't, and your false gods didn't reply you, they couldn't help you, you could call to them, okay, send us some jinn who can compose, surahs like Quran. Your false gods have failed you. You are unable to accept the challenge. So you must be ready now to submit and surrender. فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ مَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ حَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَزِينَتَهَا نُوَفِّ إِلَيْهِمْ أَعْمَالَهُمْ فِيهَا وَهُمْ فِيهَا لَا يُبْخَسُونَ. Whosoever intends to have the enjoyment of this life of this world and its adornment, نُوَفِّ إِلَيْهِمْ أَعْمَالَهُمْ, we pay them in full for their deeds. وَهُمْ فِيهَا لَا يُبْخَسُونَ, and they shall not be made to suffer anything. No diminution will be done. If somebody has chosen this world, is working hard day and night, okay, we shall give him the wealth of this life, the comforts of this life. After all, he's working hard day and night. He's sweating, like anything. So he must be given something from this world. Nuwaffi, and we give them full, pay them in full. Ilahim a'malahum, all their deeds. Fiha, in this world. Wahum fiha la yubkhasun, and nothing, they will be deprived of nothing of their labor. Ulaika allazina laysa lahum fil akhirah illa an-nar. But for them, they are those, for them there will be nothing in the hereafter except fire. Wa habita ma sanau, and whatsoever they had produced in this world will go in vain, because they never intended to have anything in akhirah. Even if they were doing some good deeds, they wanted, that people should, praise them, that they are very philanthropist type of person, they are very good persons. So actually, if even they were doing apparently good deeds, they didn't want the recompense or the reward of akhirah. They wanted all the reward in this world, and we have given it. So now in the akhirah, they don't have anything to get except nar. أولئك الذين ليس لهم في الآخرة إلا النار وحبط ما صنعوا فيها وباطل ما كانوا يعملون. Whatever good deeds they were doing, they was also false and hollow, without any basis. Now comes a very important ayah of this surah, and this is going to be the key word and key theme of this surah. أَفَمَنْ كَانَ عَلَى بَيِّنَةٍ مِّن رَبِّهِ وَيَتْلُوهُ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْهُ. So, the person who was already on a self-evident truth from his Lord, and then follows him a witness from him. What does it mean? As I told you, human nature, it contains all the iman and all the facts in potentially. It is there. Love of God is there. The soul which was breathed into us. وَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. This ruh, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it has all the things, just like a seed contains the whole of plant. Where from does the plant come? From that seed. Potentially the whole plant, the whole tree is present in that nut or seed. In the same way, in human nature, there is bayyana. If the nature is not perverted, if it is a healthy nature, pure human nature, it is bayyana within you. Now when the revelation comes, it is a witness. It testifies that whatever you have in your heart is correct. देखना तकरीर की लज्जत के जो उसने कहा, मैंने ये जाना कि गोया यही मेरे दिल में है. And this is what Hafiz ibn Qayyim rahimahullah has said in one of his articles, that there are some people who will read Quran. They feel that they are not reading Quran from the Mus'haf, from this book. They feel this Quran is written on their hearts, and they are reading it from there. Because there is complete harmony between the human nature and what Quran is saying. So actually this Quran testifies that whatever human nature is saying is correct. You may say that human nature and soul testifies that whatever Quran is saying is correct. So this is a mutual testimony, mutual harmony between the two. So if there was a person who had a pure nature, now just imagine Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala, pure of nature, tender-hearted, a muttaqi person, God-fearing person, and he was very kind to people, and he was of the sound intellect. He never worshipped any idols. Even before Wahi started coming to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was a muwahhid from the very beginning. So he is the person, he was the person. In the same way, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was such a person. But I am not mentioning Muhammad because he was a prophet. And prophet is by birth a prophet. So I am mentioning Hazrat Abu Bakr or Hazrat Usman ibn Maz'un. There was another person who died before the revelation started coming to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was Zaid. His son, Sa'id ibn Zaid is one of the 10 topmost Sahaba. Ashara Mubashara. Sa'id ibn Zaid, who was the brother-in-law of Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And Iman came to Sa'id ibn Zaid and his wife Fatima bint Khattab before it came to Umar ibn Khattab. Rather, it came to Umar ibn Khattab through them. And actually, why? Because Sa'id was son of Zaid. And Zaid was also one of such persons, a very kind-hearted, very pure-natured person, who used to say, holding, the curtains of Kaaba, "Oh Allah, I want to worship you and you alone, but I don't know how to worship you." Now, had the revelation to Muhammad started in his lifetime, he would have been the Siddiq, one of the Siddiqs. So this is the nature, human nature, the testimony. Quran testifies to the human nature. أَفَمَنْ كَانَ عَلَى بَيِّنَةٍ مِّن رَبِّهِ وَيَتْلُوهُ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْهُ. Now when revelation is coming, it is actually witness that whatever you have in the self-evident truth that you have in your souls, actually it is correct. And that is how we can understand when revelation came to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How did he recognize it as revelation? How did he recognize that this is an angel, not an evil spirit? He could have any thought, doubt. Maybe he is Satan. Maybe he is some jinn. He has come to, lead me astray. But no, his nature recognized. So man is not blind by nature. He has that, the sight also. And, the intellect also, the soul of man. أَفَمَنْ كَانَ عَلَى بَيِّنَةٍ مِّن رَبِّهِ وَيَتْلُوهُ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْهُ وَمِنْ قَبْلِهِ كِتَابُ مُوسَى. And this Quran has come as a witness now. And before this Quran, there was the book of Moses, Imamam wa Rahmah. This was also guidance and mercy. أُولَٰئِكَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِهِ. Such people will come to believe in this book because they are pure of nature. They will have no difficulty in recognizing the truth of this book and the truthfulness of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِهِ مِنَ الْأَحْزَابِ. And whosoever rejects it from among all the groups and factions, because there were the idolaters, there were the Jews and Christians, مِنَ الْأَحْزَابِ فَالنَّارُ مَوْعِدُهُ. So fire is the place of their promise. فَلَا تَكُ فِي مِرْيَةٍ مِّنْهُ. And you should not be in any doubt about that. إِنَّهُ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ. And this is the truth from your Lord. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. But most of the people are not going to believe. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنِ افْتَرَىٰ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. And who is more evildoer than the person who concocts or forges something and then attributes it to Allah? This is the biggest crime. This is the biggest lie. If I am not a prophet and I say I am a prophet, this is the biggest lie. You are lying on Allah. And some people is lying something about humans, about men. But he is, attributing that thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a false thing. So this is the biggest crime. أُولَٰئِكَ يُعْرَضُونَ عَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ. They will be presented before their Lord, whosoever does this crime. وَيَقُولُ الْأَشْهَادُ هَٰؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ كَذَبُوا عَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ. And then the witnesses will say, these are the people who forged this and they attributed it to their Lord. عَلَىٰ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الظَّالِمِينَ. And behold, the curse of Allah will be on such evildoers. Now what is the essence of this ayah? Do you or can you imagine for even a single moment that Muhammad can do it? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You have known him. He has lived with you for 40 years. And if it is being revealed in the 10th year after the beginning of Wahi, for 50 years you know him. Did he ever tell a lie? If he didn't tell a lie, in the matters of this world, small disputes, if he didn't attribute any false thing to any human, How could you expect that he would attribute something false to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because this is the biggest crime. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنِ افْتَرَىٰ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا أُولَٰئِكَ يُعْرَضُونَ عَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ وَيَقُولُ الْأَشْهَادُ هَٰؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ كَذَبُوا عَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ أَلَا لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الظَّالِمِينَ الَّذِينَ يَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Those zalimeen, those evildoers who are obstructing people, who are holding back themselves from the path of Allah and obstructing others, preventing others from going towards the path of Allah. I told you, sadda yasuddu has both the meanings. Hold back yourself and you prevent others. وَيَبْغُونَهَا عِوَجًا. They want to find in it crookedness. وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ. And the real cause is that they don't believe in the hereafter. That is actually the root cause of all their ills. أُولَٰئِكَ لَمْ يَكُونُوا مُعْجِزِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. These people are not going to be able to frustrate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, defeat Him in the land, on the earth. وَمَا كَانَ لَهُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ مِنْ أَوْلِيَاءَ. And there will not be for them, besides Allah, any protectors. يُضَاعَفُ لَهُمُ الْعَذَابُ. The chastisement will be doubled for them. مَا كَانُوا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ السَّمْعَ وَمَا كَانُوا يُبْصِرُونَ. They were not able to hear and they were not seeing. Because the real human being within them had died. Their souls had died. Now they were like, just moving graves, nothing of that sort, moving mausoleums. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَضَلَّ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. They are the people who have ruined themselves, who have put themselves in the loss. وَضَلَّ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. And whatever they are concocting and whatever they are forging, that these are going to help us and they will be our intercessors, they will all disappear and vanish. لَا جَرَمَ. There is no doubt أَنَّهُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ هُمُ الْأَخْسَرُونَ. That in the hereafter they will be the greatest in losing. The biggest losers, the greatest losers will be them. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَأَخْبَتُوا إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ. As for those who believe and do good deeds, and they are humble to their lords, humble before their Rabb, أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. They are the people of garden, هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ, and they will dwell in it forever. مَثَلُ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ كَالْأَعْمَى وَالْأَصَمِّ وَالْبَصِيرِ وَالسَّمِيعِ. Now these two groups, the similitude of these two groups is like the similitude of those who are blind and deaf. And on the other hand, there are people who are seeing and hearing. Those who believe, they are the people who are seeing and hearing. Those who are rejecting and denying and belying this truth, they are like the deaf and the dumb, blind and deaf. هَلْ يَسْتَوِيَانِ مَثَلًا. Are they equal? Are they similar in this similitude? أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. So don't you get reminded and admonished? Now comes, the story of Nuh, and I told you, 2 sections of this surah, 25 ayat are devoted to the story of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam. Although, it has been repeated many a time, but this is the longest discourse. We have another surah, complete surah, in the 28th part, Surah Nuh. It also has 28 ayat. It is absolutely and exclusively devoted to the history of Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam. But the counterpart, you can say, is this place in the Quran where this has been discussed in detail. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا نُوحًا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ نَذِيرٌ مُّبِينٌ. And we had sent Nuh to his nation. Now note, nation, whole of the nation, nation as a whole. إِنِّي لَكُمْ نَذِيرٌ مُّبِينٌ. And he said, I am for you a clear warner. Allah ta'budu illallah. And the message is that you don't worship anyone except Allah. إِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ أَلِيمٍ. I fear on you the chastisement of a very big day, very mighty day. فَقَالَ الْمَلَأُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ قَوْمِهِ. So replied the chiefs of his nation who had disbelieved him, مَا نَرَاكَ إِلَّا بَشْرًا مِثْلَنَا. We don't see you except you are also a human being, you are also a mortal like us. وَمَا نَرَاكَ اتَّبَعَكَ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ هُمْ أَرَادُونَا بَادِيَ الرَّأْيِ. And we don't see that anybody had followed you except those who are meanest. Apparently, most apparently the meanest of our slaves, our servants. Some of those have gathered round you. No, none of the noble, the nobility, none of the aristocracy, none of the wealthy people. Nobody has, accepted your dawah and accepted you as the messenger of Allah, except, some people, who belong to the lowest status of our society. وَمَا نَرَاكَ إِلَّا اتَّبَعَكَ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ هُمْ أَرَادُونَا بَادِيَ الرَّأْيِ. Most apparently we can see that they belong to the lowest strata of our society. وَمَا نَرَى لَكُمْ عَلَيْنَا مِنْ فَضْلٍ. And we don't see that there is any superiority in you or them over us. If it's not the truth which you are presenting, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should have made you superior to us in wealth also, in position also, in this hierarchy of the tribe also. But we don't find. You are not from among the chiefs, you are not from among the wealthiest people of the tribe. And in the same way, only these people, the poor, they people are gathering around you. Bal nazunnukum kazibin. Oh, we think that you are telling a lie. You are an impostor. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِن كُنْتُ عَلَىٰ بَيِّنَةٍ مِّن رَّبِّي. Now this is the same thing. I told you this is going to be the central idea. He said, "Oh my nation, oh my people, have you considered if I was on bayyana from my Rabb?" You have been seeing me. The nature that I had, that I was bestowed upon by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my character, you have been seeing me all along. If in kuntu ala bayyinatin min rabbi, if I was on a self-evident light from my Lord, wa atani rahmatan min indihi, and then He gave me the mercy from His prayers, that is wahi. It has come to me later. For 40 years there was no wahi to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was on the bayyana from his Lord, right from his birth. His character, his personality, was a shining light. But wahi was not coming. But then wahi came, light added unto light. Nurun ala nur, just as we have in Surah An-Nur. Nurun ala nur. The nature was a nur itself. And then the wahi, nur of wahi has also come. So nur has been added to nur. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِن كُنْتُ عَلَىٰ بَيِّنَةٍ مِّن رَّبِّي وَآتَانِي رَحْمَةً مِّنْ عِندِهِ فَأُمِّيَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ. And this has been obscured from you. You are not able to see it. أَنُلْزِمُكُمُوهَا وَأَنْتُمْ لَهَا كَارِهُونَ. So can we compel you to accept it? If you are not liking it, if you are abhorring it, we cannot compel you to accept it. وَيَا قَوْمِ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ مَالًا. And my people, just look and think. I have never asked you for any money. I have never asked you for any wealth. I don't ask you for any ajr. In ajri illa Allah. My reward, my salary, my remuneration, everything rests with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا أَنَا بِطَارِدِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And I am not going to drive away those who have come to believe. Whether they are from your servants, whether they are from your slaves, whether do you feel that they are the mean people, they are the menials and so on, whatever you may like to say. I am not going to drive them away. إِنَّهُمْ مُلَاقُو رَبِّهِمْ. They will be meeting their Lord. وَلَكِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ قَوْمًا تَجْهَلُونَ. But I do see that you are in ignorance. You are not seeing the truth. You are ignorant. وَيَا قَوْمِ مَنْ يَنْصُرُنِي مِنَ اللَّهِ. And my people, just think, who will save me? Who will be able to save me? Who will be able to help me against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If I drive them away, because they are poor, I drive them away. I push them away from me. وَيَا قَوْمِ مَنْ يَنْصُرُنِي مِنَ اللَّهِ إِنْ طَرَدتُّهُمْ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Do you not get reminded, admonition? وَلَا أَقُولُ لَكُمْ إِنْدِي خَزَائِنُ. The same wordings which appeared regarding Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَلَا أَقُولُ لَكُمْ إِنْدِي خَزَائِنُ اللَّهِ. I have never claimed, I don't claim that I possess the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا أَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبَ. And I clearly state that I don't know the unseen. وَلَا أَقُولُ إِنِّي مَلَكٌ. Nor do I say that I am an angel. I have never claimed to be an angel. وَلَا أَقُولُ لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَدْرِي أَعْيُنُكُمْ لَنْ يُؤْتِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا. Nor I can say that the people, your eyes are looking down upon them, these people, you are hating them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not give them the goods of hereafter, فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. You are seeing them to be mean or low, but maybe they are high in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, I can't say. Allahu a'lamu bima anfusihim. Allah very well knows. He is aware of what is there in their souls. Inni idhan lamina zalimin. If I drive them away, well, I would become one of the evildoers. قالوا يا نوح قد جادلتنا فأكثرت جدالنا. They said, oh Nuh, you have disputed with us, you have argued with us, and you have gained a lot in this dispute. You have made a lot of dispute. It can be translated in both ways. You have made a lot of dispute and argument. Now we are fed up with this argument. فَأْتِنَا بِمَا تَعِدُنَا إِن كُنْتَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Now if you are true, now bring to us what you are threatening us. Bring the azab of Allah. Call on Allah. He should send the azab on us. The chastisement or the torment about which you have been talking so long. Now let it be. Let it happen. قَالَ إِنَّمَا يَأْتِيكُمْ بِهِ اللَّهُ إِنْ شَاءَ. He replied, Allah will bring it to you, on you, if He so desires. وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِمُعْجِزِينَ. And when it comes, you will not be able to defeat. You will not be able to protect yourself from that chastisement. You will not be able to escape it. وَلَا يَنْفَعُكُمْ نُصْحِي إِنْ أَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَنْصَحَ لَكُمْ. And I know that my sincere counseling and advice will be of no avail to you, even if I sincerely want for you that you be saved. وَلَا يَنْفَعُكُمْ نُصْحِي إِنْ أَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَنْصَحَ لَكُمْ إِنْ كَانَ اللَّهُ يُرِيدُ أَنْ يُغْوِيَكُمْ. If Allah has decided that He has to lead you astray, He has put a seal on your fate, He has set the seals on your heart, then I can't do it. هُوَ رَبُّكُمْ. He is your Lord. وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. And to Him you will be returned. أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَاهُ. Are they saying that he has concocted these things? Now here he means Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the midst of this discourse, discussing the events of Hazrat Nuh and what was going on between him and his people, now in between them there is a reference to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Am yaqulun iftara. Now these things which we are revealing to you, O Muhammad, do they say that you have forged them? Qul in iftaraytuhu fa alayya ijrami. Say to them, if I have concocted these things, forged these things, these ayat, fa alayya ijrami, so on me will be my guilt. My crime will be on me. Wa ana bari'um mimma tujrimun. But likewise, I am absolutely unanswerable for your guilts, what you are doing. If what I am saying is correct, it is from Allah and you are rejecting, well, you will be repaid, you will be rewarded, you will be recompensed. If, for the sake of argument, if I am doing this thing wrong, then I will have to face the consequences. وَأُوحِيَ إِلَى نُوحٍ. And it was revealed to Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam, أَنَّهُ لَنْ يُؤْمِنَ مِنْ قَوْمِكَ إِلَّا مَنْ قَدْ آمَنَ. That now nobody else is going to come to believe from your people except those who have already believed. A full stop has been put now. أَنَّهُ لَنْ يُؤْمِنَ مِنْ قَوْمِكَ إِلَّا مَنْ قَدْ آمَنَ فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. So don't be in distress. Now don't be disappointed. Don't be in agony on what they have been doing. وَاصْنَعِ الْفُلْكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا وَوَحْيِنَا. And now construct the ark according to بِأَعْيُنِنَا, before our eyes. We will be watching, we will be giving instructions. وَوَحْيِنَا. And our wahi will be coming. How long, how broad, how much, deep, how to build it. Continuous instructions coming. وَاصْنَعِ الْفُلْكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا. In our eyes, we are seeing, we are watching. وَوَحْيِنَا. And our instructions coming to you through the revelations. وَلَا تُخَاطِبْنِي فِي الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. Now, don't address me, never address me regarding these people who have transgressed, who have rejected. إِنَّهُمْ مُغْرَقُونَ. All of them are going to be drowned. Now it shouldn't happen that your brotherly feelings for your people, they are aroused in your heart and then you say, oh Allah pardon them. Now no. If this has happened, it has been decreed. Now don't address me regarding these people. Although they might be your kith and kin, your relatives, maybe your own son, maybe your own wife. But now you cannot address me and you cannot call upon me to have any mercy on them. وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكَ, and he was constructing the ark. كُلَّمَا مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ مَلَوْ مِنْ قَوْمِهِ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ. Whenever the chiefs from his nation, from his people passed by him, they joked, scoffed on him. What is he doing? Now he has gone mad, absolutely mad. We doubted from the very beginning that he is crazy. Now he is absolutely mad. In this region, far away from any ocean, far away from any sea, far away from any big river, and he is constructing such a big ark, such a big boat. Where will he float it? Now, no doubt that he has gone crazy. وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكَ وَكُلَّمَا مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ مَلَوْ مِنْ قَوْمِهِ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ قَالَ إِنْ تَسْخِرُوا مِنَّا فَإِنَّا نَسْخَرُ مِنْكُمْ. He replied, now see the bitterness in the words of Nuh. If you are joking on us and scoffing on us today, a time will come, we will be scoffing on you. كَمَا تَسْخَرُونَ, as you are scoffing on us. فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ مَنْ يَأْتِهِ عَذَابٌ يُخْزِيهِ, and very soon you will know to whom comes the torment and the chastisement which will humiliate him. وَيَحِلُّ عَلَيْهِ عَذَابٌ مُقِيمٌ, and a lasting chastisement and torment will come upon them. حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَ أَمْرُنَا وَفَارَتِ النُّورُ. Thus it happened, kept on happening, until our command came. حَتَّى جَاءَ أَمْرُنَا وَفَارَتِ النُّورُ, and the oven boiled out. First of all, a big tannoor, a big oven, a very gushing water started coming from that. And in other places, we know that a very strong rain started coming from the skies, and there were from everywhere, the earth was, there were fissures which appeared in the earth, and from that water was gushing out. And let me tell you, H.G. Wells has given an explanation, a physical explanation. He has written it in his, but I don't now fully remember. He has written 2 books on the world history, a short history of the world and a concise history of the world. In which of them, I'm not sure, but in one of them he has written that this, big flood came because the level of this area at that time, this region, was lower than the level of the ocean. And along the coast of the Mediterranean, there was a high ridge. And they say it is the case in Karachi also. Some areas of Karachi are lower than the level of the ocean, level of the sea. But because along the coast, there is a ridge, stony ridge, so that protects Karachi. Maybe at some time, there is some crack in that ridge and water then gushes. If the sea level is higher, then that ground, it will come like anything. And it can be from one spot. A big, just as Tarbala Dam, for example, God forbid, even if there is a crack at one place, what will happen? It will bring havoc. So his, explanation is that the level of this land was lower at that time than the surface of the Mediterranean Sea. And along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, there was a ridge, mountainous ridge, which was holding the ocean. Then there was some, leaking, and then place Farat Tanur, as Quran says. Maybe it's just possible, it's just an explanation. And then, the ocean, the water of ocean, gushed into this area, and there was a flood over a very vast area. And it appears from the Quran that the progeny of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was limited to this region till that time. So that when, they were drowned, so actually the whole progeny of Adam alayhi salam was finished, except the people who were with Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam in his ark. Wallahu alam. وَفَارَتْ النُّورُ قُلْ نَحْمِلْ فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجَيْنِ إِثْنَيْنِ. And we said, embark in it a pair from every kind. وَأَهْلَكَ, and your own family. إِلَّا مَنْ سَبَقَ عَلَيْهِ الْقَوْلِ, except from your family on whom the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already gone. وَمَنْ آمَنَ, and all those who have come to believe with you. So a pair from all kinds of animals and birds and beasts and so on. Min kulli zawjayn isnayn. Number two, your own family, except from your own family even, about whom the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already come. And as we know, it was number one of his wives, and number two, one of his sons. They were from his family. Because we find it in Surah Al-Tahrim, mention of wife of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam and wife of Hazrat Lut alayhi salam, that they were, unbelievers, they were with the kuffar, and they were punished along with those who were punished. And you will find here the story of one of his sons. وَمَا آمَنَ مَعَهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ, and people didn't believe in him except only a very few. They say they were 72. I feel not even 72. Only 3 of his sons, their wives, maybe 1 or 2 wives of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam himself, and a few servants. And after him, the progeny of humans started only from the 3 sons of Hazrat Nuh. Hazrat Ham, Hazrat Sam, Hazrat Yafis. وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ مَجْرَاهَا وَمُرْسَاهَا, and he said, now embark in it. With Allah's name shall be its running, its floating, and its mooring. Inna Rabbi la-ghafurur rahim, verily my Lord, my Rabb, is forgiving and merciful. وَهِيَ تَجْرِي بِهِمْ فِي مَوْجٍ كَالْجِبَالِ, and it was moving with them amid waves like mountains. وَنَادَى نُوحٌ ابْنَهُ, and Nuh called out to his son. وَكَانَ فِي مَعْزِلٍ, and he was standing aloof. He had not mounted, not embarked that ship, that ark. He was standing aloof. يَا بُنَيَّ ارْكَبْ مَعَنَا, oh my son, oh my dear son, you also embark with us. وَلَا تَكُنْ مَعَ الْكَافِرِينَ, don't be with those who are disbelievers. قَالَ سَآوِي إِلَىٰ جَبَلٍ يَعْصِمُنِي مِنَ الْمَاءِ, he said, no harm. Very soon I will reach that mountain. I will, climb that mountain. It will save me, protect me from the water. قَالَ لَا عَاصِمَ الْيَوْمَ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِيمٌ, he said, there is no protection today, none to protect, except min amrillah, from the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No protection, no protector. Illa man rahim, except whom he shows mercy. Only his mercy can rescue you, nothing else. وَحَالَ بَيْنَهُمَ الْمَوْجُ, and a wave intervened between them. فَكَانَ مِنَ الْمُغْرَقِينَ, and he became one of those who were drowned. وَقِيلَ يَا أَرْضُ ابْلَعِي مَاءَكِ, and it was said, O earth, you swallow back your water. وَيَا سَمَاءُ أَقْلِعِي, and O sky, O heaven, withhold your water. وَغِيضَ الْمَاءُ, and water subsided. وَقُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ, and the whole matter was settled and decided. وَاسْتَوَتْ عَلَى الْجُودِي, and the ark came to a rest on Judi. This Judi is a peak among the Ararat's range of mountains. And this is an area which is absolutely in between, adjoiningly, where these 3 countries are meeting: Turkey, Russia, Armenia. And this is a very difficult place to go, to reach the top. So whenever, Muslims have some authority and they can do it and they have the means, they should send this expedition. Because Quran says in many places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept it, and it will appear and people will know that this is the ark of Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam. وَقِيلَ بَعْدْ بُعْدًا لِلْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. It was said and proclaimed, done away with the evil doing people. They have been finished. بُعْدًا لِلْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. فَنَادَى نُوحٌ رَبَّهُ. And now Nuh called out to his Lord. فَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنَّ ابْنِي مِنْ أَهْلِي. And he said, O my Lord, my son was from amongst my family. وَإِنَّ وَعْدَكَ الْحَقِّ. And your promise is true. You promised you will save my family. وَأَنْتَ أَحْكَمُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. And you are the best judge of all the judges. Now the way, it's a complaint. But the way, how this complaint is being presented to the Lord. فَنَادَى نُوحٌ رَبَّهُ قَالَ رَبِّ إِنَّ ابْنِي مِنْ أَهْلِي وَإِنَّ وَعْدَكَ الْحَقِّ وَأَنْتَ أَحْكَمُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. He couldn't say why my son was destroyed and drowned. You had promised me that my family will remain safe. قَالَ يَا نُوحُ إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ. This is a very important place of Quran. Even, a bondsman like Nuh, having served Allah for nearly 1,000 years, but still he is a bondsman. الرب رب وإن تنزل والعبد عبد وإن ترقى. Bondsman remains a bondsman. He might ascend to the seventh heaven as Muhammad ascended sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the night of ascension. And the Lord remains the Lord, although he may come down to the lowest heaven. The difference of Lord and bondsman remains as such. Just look, 1,000 years, hardest labor, calling people, bearing all the hardships, people laughing, mocking at him. But here, a slight, you may say, an appeal, a request, a humble request. But it had a sort of, what we should say, protest. وَنَادَى نُوحٌ رَبَّهُ فَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنَّ ابْنِي مِنْ أَهْلِي وَإِنَّ وَعْدَكَ الْحَقِّ وَأَنْتَ أَحْكَمُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. In the most careful words, but it contains something like what to say, protest. قَالَ يَا نُوحُ إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ إِنِّي أَعِظُكَ أَنْ تَكُونَ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Look to the harshness of the words. The same words appeared for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Surah Al-An'am. Don't be from among Jahilin. If you can, فَإِنْ كَانَ كَبُرَ عَلَيْكَ إِعْرَاضُهُمْ فَإِنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ أَنْ تَبْتَغِيَ نَفَقًا فِي الْأَرْضِ أَوْ سُلَّمًا فِي السَّمَاءِ فَتَأْتِيَهُم مِنْ آيَةٍ. If, the matter has become unbearable for you, if you can, if you can dig a tunnel in the land, or you can have a ladder into the sky and bring them a miracle, go and have it. Who is being addressed here? إِنْ كَانَ كَبُرَ عَلَيْكَ إِعْرَاضُهُمْ فَإِنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ أَنْ تَبْتَغِيَ نَفَقًا فِي الْأَرْضِ أَوْ سُلَّمًا فِي السَّمَاءِ فَتَأْتِيَهُم بِآيَةٍ. The same. قَالَ يَا نُوحُ إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ. He replied, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, he is not from your family. إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. He is of unrighteous deeds. فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. Don't ask me about which you don't have the knowledge. إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. Don't ask me for which you have no knowledge. إِنِّي أَعِظُكَ أَن تَكُونَ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. I admonish you, lest you should become one of the ignorants. قَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي أَعُوذُ بِكَ أَنْ أَسْأَلَكَ مَا لَيْسَ لِي بِهِ عِلْمٌ. Immediately Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam replied, O my Lord, I take refuge in thee, lest I should ask from you about which I have no knowledge. وَإِلَّا تَغْفِرْ لِي وَتَرْحَمْنِي أَكُنْ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And if you don't forgive me and you don't show mercy to me, I will become one of the losers. The same verse which Hazrat Adam, Hawa, they uttered. رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. We read it in Surah Al-Araf. قِيلَ يَا نُوحُ اهْبِطْ بِسَلَامٍ مِنَّا وَبَرَكَاتٍ عَلَيْكَ. It was said and proclaimed. Qila, it was said, some angel might have proclaimed, Ya Nuh bi salamin minna. Oh Nuh, now you get down from this ark with peace from us. Salamin minna wa barakatin, and blessings from us. Alayka, on you, wa ala umamin mimman ma'ak, and all the nations and communities who will emerge from those who are with you in the ark. These words are very important. Umamim mimman ma'ak, the communities and nations, the progenies of those who are with you in the ark. Wa umamun sanumatti'uhum, and there are going to be nations whom we shall give some worldly things, some provisions of this world. Summa yamassuhum minna azabun alim, and then a very painful torment is going to come to them. Now this refers to Ad. They were also from the progeny of Hazrat Sam alayhi salatu wasalam. Then again to Samud, he was also from the progeny from Ad, and so on. And even the Chaldean Empire, that was in Iraq, that was also from Sam. So all these, prophets who are mentioned in Quran, they are actually all progeny of Sam, Semitic races. Whether they are, the Jews, or they are the Arabs, they were the Chaldeans, or all these Phoenicians, etc., etc. All people who lived in Syria, in Iraq, in the Arabian Peninsula, all these people. And from there actually, at different times, people came out and invaded. At the time of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, the king in Egypt was from this very Arabian Peninsula. He was not Pharaoh. That is why in the Surah Yusuf, we don't find the word Pharaoh, Malik, Qal al-Malik. They were actually the Hyksos kings, they call, in the history of Egypt. This was not a dynasty of Pharaoh, but it was another dynasty of a people who had come from the Arabian Peninsula, invaded Egypt, and they had established their rule over there. So this was, so to say, a reservoir of human potential. وَأُمَمٌ سَنُمَتِّعُهُمْ ثُمَّ يَمَسُّهُم مِّنَّا عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ تِلْكَ مِن أَنبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِيهَا إِلَيْكَ. This is the concluding ayah of this discourse. These are from the news of the unseen, which we are revealing to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ma kunta ta'lamuha anta wala qaumuka. You didn't know them, neither you yourself nor your nation. People of Ad were known to these Arabs. People of Hud, Ad, because they dwelt in the peninsula, in the southern part of the peninsula, which is the worst type of deserts today. The worst desert in the world. And Samud, this nation was also inhabiting the Arabian Peninsula, the northern western corner of Arabian Peninsula, just near the Gulf of Aqaba. So these people, then along the right or the eastern coast of Aqaba, they were the people to whom were sent Hazrat Shu'aib alayhi salatu wasalam. Then around the coast of the Dead Sea, there were situated the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So there was sent Hazrat Lut alayhi salam. So all these nations, they were known to these people. But because the nation of Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam lived high up in the north, in that area which is today called Kurdistan, part of it is in Turkey, part of it is in Iraq, part of it is in Iran, and some of it is in Armenia. So this was higher up. So the Arabs, they didn't know the history of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. So that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Tilka min amba'il ghaibi nuhiha ilayk ma kunta ta'lamuha anta wala qawmuka min qabli hadha. You didn't know them, nor yourself, nor your nation, before this. Fasbir. So, O Muhammad, have patience, persevere. Because the result will be the same. You will be helped. You will be delivered. You and people who have come to believe in you, we shall help them. Our help shall come to them. Innal aqibata lil muttaqeen. And the happy end are for those who fear Allah, who are God conscious, who regard Allah, who believe in Him, who love Him, and who spend everything for His pleasure. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'anil Azim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim.